Hello guys, we are back with a new fanfic. Which is, what if Naruto was born in the Uchiha clan and became the strongest Uchiha ever, part 1. If enjoy this fanfic please like and now let's start the fan FC. October 10th was a special day for Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. Today was the day that their daughter was expected to be born. Kushina was excited since this was her first child, but was nervous thanks to the 9 tails that would try to force its way out of her since her seal will weaken while she's giving birth. She witnessed firsthand how hard childbirth is when she heard her friend Sayuri Uchiha giving birth 2 months ago to a baby boy that Kushina instantly fell in love with. Sayuri had the typical Uchiha look. Her hair and eyes were obsidian black and she has pale skin. She always wears golden, dangling pearl earrings no matter where she is and it's become part of her signature look. Her hair stopped just below her waist, but she would tie a portion of it into a high, short ponytail. She was very developed and it made all the men try to get in her bed, but she always declined. When she was off duty, she would wear a simple dark purple kimono robe or a dark blue short-sleeved dress that reached her above her knees, a black obi wrapped around her waist that had a thin white line in the middle. Minato on the other hand was happy his family was expanding. While he was happy he was having a daughter, this was not his first child. You see, about 2 months before Kushina got pregnant, Minato, Sayuri and Kushina had a threesome after celebrating a successful mission one day. It was a fun night for all of them, mainly Minato since he was with 2 of the most beautiful women in the village at the same time. They never talked about it again, but Kushina would joke around and say that if Sayuri was ever bored that she could join them again. 2 months after the threesome, Sayuri told Minato she was pregnant and Kushina got a good laugh out of it. The reason she laughed was because she said Minato was the fastest shinobi alive, but he wasn't fast enough to pull out during. Kushina wasn't upset about Minato and Sayuri having a child simply because she always wanted a family and their son was part of her family. Coincidentally the next day is when Kushina found out she was pregnant and Minato gave her a big hug. Minato and Sayuri decided to name their son Naruto Uchiha since it was sort of illegal to have a child with somebody outside of the Uchiha clan since they wanted to keep their dojutsu pure. Sayuri would keep it a secret that Minato was the father of her child, but she knew Naruto's features would bear a striking resemblance to Minato as he got older. Naruto had the Uchiha black hair, but instead of the coal black eyes, Naruto's eyes were a dark blue color. His hair was spiky just like his father's along with Minato's facial structure and his skin was darker than Sayuri, but lighter than Minato who had tan skin. Naruto's chakra network was also already growing and they guessed he'd have mid to high Jonin level reserves by the time he graduated from the academy. The only people who knew about Naruto being Minato and Sayuri's son other than Kushina was the 3rd Hokage known as Hiruzen Sarutobi, Kakashi Hatake since Minato personally trusted him to guard both of them during their pregnancy as Sayuri stayed at their house quite a bit, Makoto Uchiha who was Kushina's best friend and Bawako Sarutobi. She was the wife of the 3rd Hokage and helped deliver Naruto. She was also responsible for helping Kushina give birth to her daughter which she decided to name Natsumi Uzumaki Namikaze. Since Kushina was a Jinchuriki about to give birth, Minato had set up a secret area for her to give birth since there was the risk of the 9 tails escaping. Kushina jokingly called him paranoid, but Minato was always prepared for the worst. The location was secure to the point that only Minato, Kushina, 2 Anbu, Bawako and Hiruzen knew about it. The location was protected by many suppression seals for the 9 tails, as well as multiple barrier seals to keep anyone from entering. As everything was going on, Sayuri was sitting at her house with Makoto and Naruto when she just finished. I can't believe that he eats so much. It's like I have to feed him every 5 minutes. Sayuri said. Well, his father does have quite the appetite. Maybe that's where he gets it from. Makoto said and then Naruto let out a huge burp. Yup, he gets that from his father. Sayuri said and kissed Naruto's nose. I'd never thought I would see this. Sayuri Uchiha, who didn't want kids at all, is sitting here holding her own child. Makoto said. Ha ha, I guess you're right, but I wouldn't trade this for anything. 9 months of carrying him and then nearly 2 days of labor. I just loved him since I first heard him cry and finally held him. That and I was there with Minato, who was a huge help when things started to get difficult for me once my stomach grew. Sayuri said. I know. 2 pregnant women stayed at his house and people wondered why he was always in the office. I still don't understand how you never fell for his charm. Makoto said. Don't get me wrong, Minato is a wonderful man, but I think me and him both knew it would never work between us. Yeah, what happened between us was a mistake, but that mistake gave me the greatest gift I could ever ask for. We'll never be together, but he and I will always be connected through Naruto. Sayuri said. You should try to find a boyfriend. You can't stay single forever. Makoto said. Please. The only reason men look at me is because of I swear they might be as big as Lady Tsunade's thanks to them growing. Sayuri said. Nope. She's still got you beat. I was with you the last time you had to buy some bras. You're 99 centimeters, and according to what Master Jiraiya told Minato and Kushina, Lady Tsunade is 106 centimeters. Makoto said. Remind me to keep that perv away from my son. Sayuri said. Duly noted. Makoto said, and then Naruto started to cry as an ominous feeling came over the entire Leaf Village. It's okay, baby. Mommy's got you. Sayuri said, and then a loud roar was heard. Kushina. Sayuri and Makoto said at the same time as Naruto cried even louder. Lady Makoto. Get to the bunker now. You as well, Lady Sayuri. An Uchiha clan member said. What's going on? Sayuri asked. The Nine Tails is attacking the village. The 4th Hokage is on the battlefield as we speak, but the Nine Tails is on a rampage. Hurry. The Uchiha member said. Sayuri, get to that bunker. I'm going to find my kids. Makoto said and vanished. Kushina, Minato, please be okay. Sayuri thought and grabbed a few scrolls with food and water before going to the bunker with Naruto. Bunker. While in the bunker, Sayuri was still able to hear the Nine Tails going on a rampage. The Nine Tails was extremely powerful because the seals Minato added into the bunker to keep the vibrations or sounds of battle from causing damage weren't really working. Sayuri felt a huge amount of chakra being gathered before it was launched in the direction of the bunker, which was located in the Hokage monument, and this caused her to hold Naruto even tighter. However, the attack that was launched was suddenly gone and teleported far away. Minato must have done something. Sayuri thought. Excuse me, Lady Sayuri. A voice asked and she looked down. What is it, Kurenai? Sayuri asked. See, can I hold your baby? Kurenai asked. Sure. If he starts to fuss he might be hungry, so just give him back. Sayuri said and carefully placed Naruto in the arms of Kurenai. He's so cute. Kurenai said and Naruto opened his eyes to look at her. Other than me, Makoto, Kushina and Minato, you're the first person that got him to open his eyes. Sayuri said. Does that mean he likes me? Kurenai asked. It would seem so. Sayuri said. Lady Sayuri. A childlike voice said. Hello, Itachi. How are you? Sayuri said. I'm fine. I finally got Sasuke to stop crying. Itachi said and showed her Sasuke in his arms. He's just afraid. Naruto cried for a short while as well, but he calmed down. Where's your mother and father? Sayuri asked. I'm right here. Fugaku is out helping get the rest of the civilians to safety. Lord Third is handling the Nine Tails right now and Minato is making sure Kushina and Natsumi are safe. Makoto said. Maybe I should go help. I'm not retired. Sayuri said. You just gave birth 2 months ago and you haven't trained in 9 months. Your skills are rusty right now and you have Naruto to think about. Minato and Lord Third can handle this. Makoto said. I hope you're right. Kurenai, can you watch Naruto for me while I hand out food and water? Sayuri asked. I don't think I have a choice. He fell asleep and I don't think waking him up is a good thing. Kurenai said. It's not. He can be a handful if he is woken up too early. Sayuri said. Sounds like somebody I know. Makoto said, and Sayuri glared at her. Shut up. Sayuri said, and Makoto just laughed at her. Anyway, I think I should hand out the food and water. You know medical ninjutsu, so you can help with the wounded. Makoto said. Sure. Here you go. Sayuri said and gave Makoto a large sealing scroll. What's this? Makoto asked. Food and water for everyone. Sayuri said, and Makoto's sweat dropped. Isn't this a bit much? Makoto asked. No. I'm always prepared just in case an Akamichi is with me. In this case we have more than one. Sayuri said. I guess you're right. Makoto said. Here, Kurenai. Sayuri said and gave her a small scroll. What's in here? Kurenai asked. Bottles of milk, diapers and everything else for Naruto. Sayuri said. Okay. Kurenai said. I'll be back as soon as possible. Sayuri said and walked away to tend to the wounded. Next day funeral. After the events of the Nine Tails attack, everyone was gathered for the funeral of everyone who had fallen during the Nine Tails attack. Amongst those people were Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, who sacrificed their lives to save Natsumi from dying. Minato split the Nine Tails and sealed half of it inside of his daughter while he took the other half with him. He had to use the Reaper Death Seal, and as the Nine Tails was being sealed away, it lashed out in one last effort to kill Natsumi, but Minato and Kushina jumped in the way. Kushina could have survived, but once she was impaled by the Nine Tails nail, she knew she was a goner. While all the adults were silent, Natsumi and Naruto were placed in front of a picture of Minato. Natsumi was crying her heart out, but Naruto was just looking at the picture of Minato as if he was expecting Minato to say something back or pick him up. Minato and Kushina, both of you have your lives to protect the Hidden Leaf Village and to safeguard its future as well. The sacrifices you two have made will never be forgotten. Hiruzen said. Sayuri meanwhile was crying the most out of everyone there. It was no secret that she was the closest to Kushina and Minato out of everyone gathered at the funeral. As she was crying, her eyes started to burn really badly, and when she wiped her eyes, she saw she was crying blood. She looked up and was thankful nobody saw her. Hiruzen went to grab Natsumi, and she took that as a signal for her to grab Naruto. Once they were up there, Hiruzen spoke quietly to her so only she could hear him. I know you would like to take Natsumi in, but due to her Jinchuriki status, being Minato's daughter, I don't think that would be wise. Word would spread quickly if somebody was to figure it out, and I can't take that risk. Hiruzen said. Where will she be placed? Sayuri asked. I'll place her in the orphanage. I'm keeping her status as a Jinchuriki and S-ranked secret, and hopefully she gets adopted into a nice family. Hiruzen said. Have you told Makoto? Sayuri asked. Yes. I ran into her earlier and informed her. Hiruzen said. I'll tell Naruto about his father, but I won't tell him about Natsumi. Sayuri said. Be sure to tell him he can't mention it to anybody. The war just recently ended and tensions are still high. If word gets out that he has the blood of an Uchiha and Minato, he'll undoubtedly be sought after. Hiruzen said and chuckled. What's so funny? Sayuri asked. If Naruto is anything like his father, then I have a feeling he'll figure everything out before we can tell him. Hiruzen said. If he does, then I'll explain her situation and why he can't say anything to her. When exactly do you plan on telling her about her heritage? Sayuri asked. Either when she is mature enough to handle it or not until she becomes a Chunin. I'll keep a letter for the next Hokage. Shall I pass away before I can tell her? Hiruzen said. Oh come on. You've still got plenty of life left in you. Sayuri said. That is true, but I am still old and anything can happen at any moment. Anyway, I must bid you farewell. I have to drop Natsumi off at the hospital and then attend a meeting with the council. Hiruzen said. I understand. By the way, I'm sorry about Bawako. I heard this morning. Sayuri said. Thank you. I know she's waiting for me, but she'll have to wait a bit longer for me. Hiruzen said and walked away. I guess he told you what's going on. Makoto said. Yeah, I hope she can find a family to raise her. Sayuri said. Don't worry. I'm sure once they get a good look at her face they won't be able to resist. Makoto said. I guess you're right. Do you mind taking Naruto to Kurenai for me? She said she'd watch him while I helped out at the hospital and I'm running late. Sayuri said. Not at all. Seems Kurenai has taken a liking to Naruto. Makoto said as she took Naruto from Sayuri. Seems so. She had him all day yesterday. I even let her stay at my place since she lost her father yesterday. It was the least I could do. Sayuri said and walked away. Makoto, whose child is this? Fugaku asked. This is Sayuri's son. Makoto said. I see. I was unaware of her having a child. Fugaku said. She found out she was pregnant and decided to stay with Kushina and Minato. Makoto said. I see. What is the status of Minato and Kushina's child? Fugaku asked. Hiruzen told me earlier that she's going into the orphanage and hopefully a family will adopt her. Makoto said. I see. Did you offer to take her in? Fugaku asked. Yes, but Hiruzen doesn't want anyone to know she's related to Minato or Kushina. It would raise suspicion if we were to suddenly adopt a red-haired baby with blue eyes like Minato right after they died. There's that, and the war just ended. Tensions are still high between Aiwa and Kumo. If word got out that Minato and Kushina had a baby, then they'd surely act on it, since I'm sure word of the Nine Tails attacking will spread across the nation. Aiwa would try to kill her and Kumo would use her as a baby factory to try and get their hands on the Uzumaki Keke Genkai. Makoto said. Which is why she should be under the protection of the Uchiha clan. Fugaku said. No. What's best for her is to grow up out of the spotlight, and if she was to be adopted into our family then the focus of our clan. Makoto said and walked away. Where are you going? I'm not finished talking to you yet. Fugaku said. I'm taking Naruto to his babysitter. I'll be home after that. Makoto said. Meeting. We managed to stop the Nine Tails, but the sacrifice was too great. Homura said. However, there is no time to lament. The Hokage seat is now empty and we must decide who will take the position. Koharu said. Perhaps someone from the generation after Minato can take over. Shikaku said. We have nurtured fine jonin without a doubt, but none of them possess the experience to rule over a whole village. Koharu said. Well, is there anyone else? Shikaku asked and Danzo was about to speak up, but Hiruzen stood up. It can't be helped. This is a critical time, so I shall take over and become Hokage. Hiruzen said. You'd really consider doing that? Homura asked. Well, if you're still willing. You quit once. Do you really believe that you're up to it? Can you actually handle it? Truth be told, even though you did go after the Nine Tails, you still failed to save the fourth Hokage from his fate. Danzo asked as he interrupted Koharu. Such a remark is uncalled for. Homura said. Where were you during the battle against the Nine Tails? Koharu asked and Danzo grit his teeth, but Hiruzen just laughed. Please indulge this old man. Allow me to fill in as Hokage. Just for the time being. Until we can groom the next one. Hiruzen said and Danzo was even more pissed. Very well. Hiruzen will become Hokage once again. Koharu said. Since that is over with, what will happen to the Jinchuriki? Danzo asked. Jinchuriki. What does he mean, Lord Third? Inoichi asked. As you all know, Kushina was pregnant and gave birth. Her daughter is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. Minato sacrificed his life to seal the beast away and save the village. Hiruzen said. Will you allow me to adopt her into my clan? I was pretty good friends with Minato. Shikaku said. That cannot happen. The reason being is that she'd become a target for both Aiwa and Kumo if she's adopted by a clan. Hiruzen said. Then I propose you place her in my care. I will make sure she has the proper conditioning to live in the village and protect it like a Jinchuriki should. Danzo said. No, she will go into the orphanage and hopefully a nice family will adopt her. Also, news of her Jinchuriki status and heritage will be an S-ranked secret with a punishment of death. No harm is to come to her. That goes for civilians and clan members. Hiruzen said. What? All the clan heads yelled. You heard me. No harm is to come to Natsumi. Do not test me. Now, if any clan has an available medic, please send them to the hospital. Sayuri Uchiha is already there helping out and she could use the extra hand. Hiruzen said. Sayuri. Didn't she just give birth? Choza asked. Yes, but she isn't doing any physical training as of yet. Hiruzen said. Hospital next day. Sayuri was finished with her shift at the hospital and that's when she came across Natsumi sleeping in the room with other babies. She just looked at Natsumi, who was unaware of the situation she was put in. The more she looked at Natsumi, the more she saw Kushina and it made her cry. She was unaware that Makoto walked up to her until she placed a hand on her shoulder. The more I look at her, the more I see Kushina. Sayuri said. Me too. I'm only here because after this I don't know when I'll see her again. Makoto said. What do you mean? I'm sure if she gets adopted then whoever adopts her will allow us to see her. Sayuri said. It's not that. The Uchiha clan is being relocated to the outskirts of the village. Makoto said. What? Why? Sayuri asked. Fugaku said that it was decided by the council that it's necessary for Konoha's reconstruction. Makoto said. This just screams Danzo is behind it. Sayuri said. I know, but with the way the village is right now we can't afford to seem selfish. Hopefully this will all go over smoothly for us and it won't escalate into anything further. Makoto said. Hopefully it doesn't. Well, I need to go and pick up Naruto. Sayuri said. He's with Kurenai again? Makoto asked. Yeah, she said she won't be on missions again for another month and didn't mind watching him. Apparently she's going to the orphanage and wants to take Naruto with her to see if she can get him started early on making friends. Sayuri said. I see. I'd do the same, but Fugaku doesn't want Sasuke hanging around people he feels won't make him become strong. Makoto said. I understand. Hell, I bet he's probably taking arranged marriages now for Sasuke within the clan. Sayuri said and Makoto laughed. Please don't say that. Makoto said. I'm just saying. I'll stop by later with Naruto. Sayuri said and gave one last look at Natsumi before leaving. 5 years later. As time passed in the village, not everything was happy-go-lucky as it seemed from the outside and to people who weren't good at analyzing certain situations. There was a lot of tension in the village between the Uchiha clan and the higher-ups of the village. There was also tension between Kumo and Konoha after a failed attempt to kidnap the Hyuga heiress when she was 3 years old, which resulted in the death of a Kumo shinobi. Over the 5 years Naruto has grown up both physically and mentally. He was quite smart for his age and Sayuri knew that came from Minato. It became painfully obvious that Naruto wasn't a full-blooded Uchiha as he got older since his hair started to spike out, unlike all Uchiha members who had straight hair. His dark blue eyes also have it away and the clan minus the people didn't like him, but they never attacked him since they didn't want to deal with Sayuri, who was very protective of Naruto and could possibly go toe-to-toe with one of the legendary Sannin. Over the years Naruto started to wear a mask since he would go out in public and girls would stare at him then quickly look away as when he caught them. The mask reminded his mother of a certain silver-haired shinobi that hasn't met Naruto for some reason. Kurenai still came around when she could, but she would bring her friend Anko with her. Naruto thought Anko was weird, but cool whenever she wasn't obsessed with taking off his mask. Naruto looked at them as older sisters, with Kurenai being the mature one. Since he was 5 years old, he also began his training since he wanted to become a ninja like his mother and sisters. Sayuri taught him some basic taijutsu skills, shuriken jutsu and chakra control skills. Naruto's chakra reserves were quite large for him and Sayuri knew that there was only one person his age with higher reserves. He wanted to learn some ninjutsu, but Sayuri wouldn't teach him any until he was finished with his chakra control training. He was finished training for the day and his mom let him go to the Nine Tails festival. He was always asking to go, but his mom always said no to him, but something told her to let him go this year. She gave him some money to spend, which he thought was a lot, but he didn't mind at all. He was walking around and of course he was mesmerized by everything that was going on, but something caught his attention. He saw a group of 6 civilians chase something into an alley followed by screams. His curiosity got the best of him, so he followed them into the alley only to get angry at what he saw. They were kicking, punching, stabbing and throwing whatever they could at a girl who looked no older than he did. Something told him he should stop them and he did. He found 2 small pipes on the ground and jumped into action. He hit one of them in the back of his head as hard as he could and knocked him out. When the other civilians heard the man yell in pain before falling to the ground, they turned around and saw Naruto. "What are you doing? She's just a little girl," Naruto said. "This thing is no girl." A male civilian said, "She's a demon in human skin. She killed the 4th Hokage. We're finishing what Lord 4th started. Today is the day we get rid of this demon." The civilians turned back to start beating the girl again, but Naruto ran and stood in front of him and then they started to back away with a scared look on their face. Naruto was standing there glaring at them, but his eyes were no longer dark blue. They were red with 1 tomo in each eye, and the civilians started to leave until one of them recognized Naruto's hair. "Hey, it's just the half-breed Uchiha. You're right. We can kill the demon and take out the half-breed for the Uchiha clan. Let's get him." The civilians went on to attack, but then a kunai landed in front of them. "I hope you weren't about to lay a finger on my little brother," Kurenai said, as she appeared. "It looks like they were, Kurenai. Maybe we should teach them a lesson. I mean, picking on 2 kids and one of them just so happens to be our little brother," Anko said, as she appeared and pulled out a kunai. "It's the snake whore and genjutsu mistress. Let's get out of here. You all won't be going anywhere," a voice said from behind them, and the civilians grew scared. "Lord 3rd, what are you doing here?" Kurenai asked. "I was looking for the little girl behind you. She's been missing from the orphanage for about a year now and I've been looking for her ever since," Hiruzen said, as a group of Anbu appeared. "Do I get to play with these civilians?" Anko asked and had a creepy-looking grin on her face. "Yes. Anbu. Escort all these civilians to T&I. Anko and Ibiki have free reign to get whatever they can out of them before killing them," Hiruzen said. "Yes, sir," the Anbu said and took the civilians away. "Well, looks like I'm having fun tonight," Anko said and vanished. "I honestly can't with her sometimes," Kurenai said. "What's this on her stomach?" Naruto thought, as he saw something appear on her stomach before it went away. "Hey, wake up," Naruto said and shook the girl, who groaned a bit before waking up. Who are you?" she asked. "Naruto Uchiha. Who are you?" Naruto asked. "Natsumi Uzumaki." Natsumi said. "What did you do to make them beat you like that?" Naruto asked. "I didn't do anything. I was walking around and they started chasing me. It's been like this since I was kicked out of the orphanage," Natsumi said. "Natsumi, the orphanage told me you ran away a year ago," Hiruzen said, as he walked over to them. "Old man," Natsumi exclaimed, as she ran and gave him a hug. "Her wounds are already healed. What's going on?" Naruto thought. "Natsumi, why did the orphanage kick you out?" Kurenai asked. "They said that I was old enough to live on my own. I tried to find the old man, but the stupid old lady at the desk kept kicking me out. So, I've just been living on the streets and eating free ramen. The Ichiraku said that I don't have to pay, and I tell you that stuff is food for the gods," Natsumi said and had drool coming out of her mouth. "She looks almost exactly like Lady Kushina. Wait a second. Red hair, violet eyes and a ramen addiction. This is Lord 4th's daughter," Kurenai thought. "What happened to your parents?" Naruto asked. "Let's not get carried away with questions. Natsumi, I'd like for you to come with me. I'll find you a place to live before the night is over," Hiruzen said. "Thanks, old man. Bye, Naruto. Cool eyes, by the way," Natsumi said, causing Hiruzen and Kurenai to look at Naruto. No way. He's so young. Kurenai thought. The Sharingan at his age. No one has unlocked the Sharingan at such a young age. Hiruzen thought. Thank you. Before you go, old man, I have a question for you. Naruto said. Oh, and what would that be? Hiruzen asked. Why were the civilians saying she was a demon and killed the fourth Hokage? Naruto asked. I do not know, Naruto. Hopefully Anko and Ibiki can get the answers from them. Come along, Natsumi. Hiruzen said, and the two of them left. Naruto, would you like to come with me for the festival? Kurenai asked. Sure. Naruto said. Maybe you can make some friends. Kurenai said. Why do you always try to have me make friends? Naruto asked. So you won't be lonely your entire life. Kurenai said. I guess you're right, but I have you, Anko, Mom and Aunt Makoto. I'm good with that for now. Naruto said. True, but you need friends your age. You can't always hang out with the adults. Kurenai said. Then I'll just hang out with Anko. Naruto said, and Kurenai laughed. I see your point, but Anko likes to go out and do adult things as well. Kurenai said. You mean stalk that guy with the scar over his nose? Naruto asked. How do you know about that? Kurenai asked. She's extremely open when she's drunk. Last time we were together she told me about him. I forgot his name though. Naruto said, and then looked at the top of a building. You need to stop hanging with her when she's drunk. Who knows what she'll tell you next, and it's certain things you shouldn't know about at your age. Kurenai said, and Naruto didn't respond, so she looked at him. What's wrong? Kurenai asked. Somebody was watching us. Naruto said. He's a censor. Kurenai thought. Are they still there? Kurenai asked and pulled out a kunai. No. Whoever it was left. Naruto said. I see. Let's get out of here. We can still get to some of the good food stands if we hurry. Kurenai said. I already ate though. Naruto said. Then what do you want to do? Kurenai asked. Can you show me where the library is? Naruto asked. Sure. Kurenai said. Underground base. Lord Danzo, I have news. An Anbu agent said. What is it? Danzo asked. While I was unable to capture the Jinchuriki due to interference from the Hokage, Anko Mitatashi and Kurenai Yuhi, I found something else that might interest you. The Anbu said. It better be important since you failed to get me my weapon. Danzo said. It is. The Uchiha known as Naruto has awakened his Sharingan during the event and appears to be a censor as well since he was able to detect me, but I quickly left. The Anbu said. His Sharingan? Are you sure? Danzo asked. Yes, sir. I wouldn't have reported it if it was not true. The Anbu said. Interesting. A 5-year-old with his Sharingan awakened is simply unheard of. I don't think Madara Uchiha unlocked his Sharingan at such an age. Keep an eye on the Jinchuriki. I'll send another squad to watch the Uchiha. Capture the Jinchuriki if possible. If she gets into the academy, then I'll have no choice but to declare the mission a failure. The squad I'll send after the Uchiha will have the same orders. Danzo said. Yes, Lord Danzo. The Anbu said and vanished. Having the Jinchuriki and an Uchiha who may have the most powerful Sharingan in Uchiha clan history will certainly make my future plans easier. Danzo thought. Next day, Hokage office. Naruto, why did you want me to bring you to the Hokage? Sayuri asked. Because I have some questions and whoever is in charge may have the answers. Naruto said. Why didn't you just ask me? Sayuri asked. Because it's something that I don't think you can answer. Naruto said and knocked on the door. Come in. A familiar voice said, and they entered the office. You're the Hokage? Naruto asked with wide eyes, and Hiruzen chuckled. Indeed I am. What can I do for you today? Hiruzen asked. He said he wanted some questions answered and he thinks you can answer them. Sayuri said. Okay then. Let's hear them. Hiruzen said. Do you know we're not alone in this office? Naruto asked. Of course. I have my 3 Anbu guards here. Hiruzen said. But there's a total of 8 people in the room. Naruto said, and Hiruzen signaled for his Anbu to capture the spies, revealing them to be blank masked Anbu. Root. Sayuri asked. Danzo. Take them to Ibiki. I want him to get everything out of them. Hiruzen said, and the Anbu vanished. Cool. Naruto said, and Hiruzen chuckled. This has been an interesting couple of hours for you, Naruto. You unlocked your Sharingan last night protecting Natsumi, and you're a censor. Hiruzen said. He unlocked his Sharingan? Sayuri asked. He didn't tell you? Hiruzen asked. No. Why didn't you tell me? Sayuri asked. I kind of forgot. Naruto said, and scratched the back of his head. We'll talk about it later. What are your questions? Sayuri asked. So, I went to the library last night after the whole thing with Natsumi, and I found something that I think has to do with the way she's treated. Naruto said. What would that be? Hiruzen asked. Is she what's known as a tailed beast that I read about last night? Naruto asked, and both adults froze. What makes you ask that? Hiruzen asked. Well, last night the people that were attacking Natsumi called her a demon. I went to the hospital and looked around until I found an old book about the tailed beasts. It said that there were 9 total, and they were also known as demons to us. It said that Hashirama Senju captured all of the tailed beasts and gave them away to form peace during the Warring States period. Kumo has 2, the 8 and 2 tails. Suna has 1, the 1-tailed beast. Taki has 1, the 7 tails. Kiri has 2, the 3 and 6 tails, and Iwa has 2, the 4 and 5 tails. It says nothing about the 9 tails or Konoha having a tailed beast. I know you can't kill them since in the book it says they can only be sealed away. That's why I asked if Natsumi was the same 9-tailed fox that attacked 5 years ago. Naruto said. No, she is not the 9 tails, Naruto. Hiruzen said. Then why do they call her a demon? Does it have anything to do with this that I saw on her stomach? Naruto said, and pulled out a painting of what he saw on her stomach. You painted this? Hiruzen asked. Yes. It's only multicolored because I kept running out of paint. Naruto said. Aside from a few parts, this is nearly perfect. Hiruzen thought. Is Natsumi somehow connected to the 9 tails? Naruto asked. You might as well tell him. He's so close to figuring it out. Sayuri said. Figuring out what? Naruto asked, and Hiruzen sighed before sealing the room. Listen, Naruto. What I'm about to tell you is an S-ranked secret. Do you know what that means? Hiruzen asked. Yes. Naruto answered, and Hiruzen nodded. Good. Now, Natsumi is connected to the 9 tails, but she's not the 9 tails itself. She is what's known as a Jinchuriki. Hiruzen said. What's that? Naruto asked. Jinchuriki are humans that have tailed beasts sealed within them. They exhibit extraordinary powers due to the immense chakra reserves they possess. Natsumi was born the day of the 9 tails attack in the 4th Hokage, and has gave up his life to seal the 9 tails inside of her in order to save the village from being destroyed. She is what keeps the 9 tails from going on another rampage and keeps it locked away. Hiruzen said. So she's like a container, and the 9 tails is like water inside of the container. Naruto said. In layman's terms, yes. Hiruzen said. If you crack a container of water, the water leaks out until it leaks all the way out. Don't they know that if they keep treating her like that, they risk the 9 tails escaping? Naruto asked. People fear what they do not understand. Her being a Jinchuriki is an S-ranked secret to protect her, but somebody leaked the information out to the public. Hiruzen said. So what is that? Naruto asked, and pointed at his painting. This is truly a masterpiece. It's the seal that keeps the 9 tails from escaping Natsumi. The 4th Hokage placed this on her as his final act before dying. It's what's known as an 8-tetragram seal and is powerful enough to contain the 9 tails. This type of skill is known as Fuinjutsu, and the 4th Hokage was a master of the art. You seem to have skill in that department as well if you were able to paint a near replica of this and you've only seen the seal once. Hiruzen said. Can somebody teach me? Naruto asked. I can't. I'm not good at Fuinjutsu. Sayuri said. I have a book from the 4th Hokage that I think he'd want you to have. It's all of his notes on Fuinjutsu to become a sealing master. However, I must warn you to be careful with this. Fuinjutsu is extremely hard and one wrong move can be very dangerous. Hiruzen said and gave Naruto a book, but then a picture fell out. Mom. Naruto said. What is it, Naruto? Sayuri asked. Is he my dad? Naruto asked and showed her the picture, so she nodded. Yes. The 4th Hokage is your father. I didn't tell you because I wanted to wait until you matured a bit more. I was going to tell you on your 6th birthday since that's when you started the academy, but it seems you're ready now. Sayuri said. Did he know about me? Naruto asked. Yes. The only way he wasn't around was October 10th. Sayuri said. Because of the Nine Tails attack? Naruto asked. No, it was something else. Sayuri said. Are you sure he's ready to know the truth? Hiruzen asked. Yes. I underestimated how quickly he would mature, and part of that was me foolishly hoping he would stay a baby for his entire life, but I was wrong to think that. Sayuri said. What's the truth? Naruto asked. The reason your father wasn't around on October 10th wasn't just because the Nine Tails was attacking. He was gone because your sister was born that exact same day. Sayuri said, and Naruto's jaw dropped. I thought I was your only child. Naruto said. You are. Me and your father were never together. I won't go into detail since you're so young, but you were created from that. Minato had a wife and she gave birth to your sister, and you've already met her. Sayuri said. I did. Who is she? Naruto asked. Natsumi Uzumaki. Sayuri said. The girl from last night. Does she know about me? Naruto asked. No, I haven't told her about her heritage yet, simply because she's more at risk than you are. You see, your father and her mother had issues with Kumo and Iwa. If Natsumi was to find out right now, she'd tell everyone given her personality. Her mother was Kushina Uzumaki, and Kumo tried to kidnap her one day for the Uzumaki Kekkei Genkai. Iwa simply hated your father because of his actions during the Third Shinobi War, and they'd do anything to kill both of you. Hiruzen said. So I can't tell her who I am? Naruto asked. No, not yet. However, given what happened last night, I can do something for you. Hiruzen said. What is it? Naruto asked. I know you'll seek her out to spend time with her and get close to her, but I'll give you a mission that won't go on your record until you become a shinobi. How's that sound? Hiruzen asked. Awesome, Naruto said, and Sayuri popped him upside his head. Naruto Uchiha, you do not use that language. Sayuri said. Ow. Enko says it all the time. How come she can say it, but I can't? Naruto asked. Because she's an adult. Sayuri said. Fine. Sorry, old man. Naruto said, and Hiruzen chuckled. It's quite alright. Now, this will be an S-rank mission due to her status as a Jinchuriki. Your mission will start when you've advanced in your training. You will help a squad of Anbu protect her during the day, while at night I'll have a different squad watching her. Hiruzen said. Are you sure about this, Lord Hokage? What about him? Won't he go after Natsumi as well? Sayuri asked. Yes. I can already tell within 2 years Naruto will be stronger than some genin. As for him, he'll attack at night, but I have Kat and her squad guarding her at night. Naruto will just deal with civilians and some ninja that are genin or chunin. It will be easier for me to protect her during the academy as well, since I have a feeling that the teachers and students will try to sabotage her. Sarutobi said. Then if that's the case, why not fire them and get new teachers? Sayuri asked. Because the academy somehow fell into the hands of the civilian council, and I'm still trying to find a way to take it back. I can only get involved if something is reported directly to me, and that's where Naruto comes in at. If you see any kind of sabotage going on, report it to me. Hiruzen said. Permission to beat them up? Naruto asked. Only if you deem it necessary. Hiruzen said. Good. Naruto said. That means if they attack her first, young man. Sayuri said. Remember, Naruto, you can't say a word to Natsumi about any of this. Hiruzen said. I know. Naruto said. Also, when you graduate from the academy, I'll have a surprise for you. It's something your father left behind for you. I don't know what it is since it's sealed in a scroll that will only open with your blood. Hiruzen said. That Minato. Always thinking ahead. Sayuri said. Well, that will be all. I must go to a council meeting. Hiruzen said. Come on, Naruto. It's still early enough for you to get a couple of hours of training done. Sayuri said. Okay. Bye, old man. Naruto said as they left the room. Sayuri house. Okay. Since you've unlocked the Sharingan, training will be different. Sayuri said. Different how? Naruto asked. I'm going to teach you about the Sharingan. What you have right now is the basic level of the Sharingan, but unlocking it at your age is simply unheard of. Your one Tomo Sharingan gives you the instant ability to analyze things. It allows you to copy jutsu, imitate movements and have faster perception. Sayuri said. So it's kind of like a defensive tool right now? Naruto asked. Exactly. The next step is the 2 Tomo Sharingan. It's the same as the 1 Tomo Sharingan, but you get slightly enhanced vision that will allow you to see your opponent's moves slightly in advance. The third is when you have 3 Tomo in your Sharingan, and that's when it's fully matured. This version of the Sharingan enhances your vision to the max, allowing you to see your opponent's moves in advance so you can counter before they attack you. This version also gives you access to some Sharingan Genjutsu as well. Sayuri said. I get that and everything, but that seems pretty basic when you explain it like that. I was expecting more and I already see a weakness in the Sharingan. Naruto said. What would that weakness be? Sayuri asked. Well, what if you fight somebody that doesn't really have a set movement for their attack? I think even the Sharingan would have a difficult time reading and predicting the attack. Naruto said. That's good. I should also warn you about reaction timing. Just because the Sharingan can see and predict movements, doesn't mean you'll be able to counter in time. Your Sharingan will essentially slow their movements down, but if your body isn't conditioned enough, then you won't be able to dodge. Sayuri said. So will you be training me in speed as well? Naruto asked. I want you to be an all-around ninja. Most in the Uchiha clan unlock their Sharingan and focus solely on their Sharingan. I'll teach you every aspect of being a ninja. Genjutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, kenjutsu and some medical ninjutsu. When you graduate from the academy, I want you to be a mid-chunin level shinobi. I know you can be stronger than that, but taking a break to give your body a chance to fully recover is a good thing and is essential to your growth. Sayuri said. This is going to suck, isn't it? Naruto asked. Of course it is, but I'm sure you can handle it. Now, come here so I can place some seals on you. Sayuri said. What kind of seals? Naruto asked. These are resistance seals. They make it harder for you to move and they don't stunt your growth like weights would at your age. Basically, it feels like the gravity is increasing around you a bit. Sayuri said as she placed the seals on Naruto. Cool. Naruto said, as he felt it hard to move. Should I tell him about that? I think he can handle it. I hope I'm not wrong about this. Sayuri thought. Naruto, there's something else I need to tell you about the Sharingan. Sayuri said in a serious tone that he picked up on. What about it? I thought you told me everything about it. Naruto said. No. The last thing I need to tell you about is the 4th stage of the Sharingan. It's known as the Mangekyo Sharingan and is extremely powerful. Sayuri said and activated her Mangekyo Sharingan, which was in the form of a 3-leaf clover, Naori Uchiha Mangekyo. Picture on profile. What does it do? Naruto asked. This version of the Sharingan gives you your own unique abilities, and as you can see, it changes the look of the Sharingan to a unique pattern. The drawback of the Mangekyo Sharingan is that you go blind the more you use it. Sayuri said. Then what's the point of getting it? You gain immense power, but lose your vision. How do you even awaken it? Naruto asked. According to the Uchiha stone tablet, you must kill your best friend. Sayuri said. Did you kill your best friend? Naruto asked. Indirectly, I could have possibly saved Kushina had I gone to see her give birth to Natsumi, but I declined. Sayuri said. The cost of this Mangekyo is losing your vision and your best friend. It's not worth it in the end. Naruto said. I hope you never have to experience that kind of pain, but since you'll become a shinobi, I don't think it's unavoidable. Sayuri said. I'll try my best to keep that from happening. Naruto said. Good. Just be careful if it does happen. Sayuri said. So what does your Mangekyo Sharingan do? Naruto asked. I have an ability in my right eye known as time skip. I can freeze time for a fifth of a second, but I'm able to move around freely in that small time frame. If I use this ability enough, I can store the time I've skipped to create a separate space so I won't get touched. Sayuri said. That's so cool. Naruto said. It is. My second ability is from my left eye called Amaterasu and I have the ability to control the shape of my flames. Sayuri said. Wow. Naruto said. Enough about my abilities. Let's start training. Sayuri said and started to cough heavily. Mom, are you okay? Naruto asked. I'm fine. It's just a cough. I want you to start by giving me 15 laps around the backyard. After that we'll work on your kunai and shuriken skills. Sayuri said. Okay. Naruto said. He took off running, but looked back when he heard his mom coughing. Sayuri noticed this and gave him a smile with a wave, reassuring him that she was fine. When Naruto started his laps again, Sayuri looked at her hand and saw she had blood on her hand. She sighed and hoped she had time to at least get Naruto into the academy since she knew she would never make it to see him graduate the academy. All she knew was that she needed to train him as much as she could before her time came. 2 years have passed since Naruto awakened his Sharingan, learned about his father and learned about Natsumi being his sister as well as a Jinchuriki. His training started off good, but then it slowed down as Sayuri's illness got even worse. She tried her hardest to keep it from him, but as time wore on, it became more obvious. He often would stay by her side all day to take care of her and miss school, but he didn't care since his mother came first. Sayuri knew she was on borrowed time and tried to stay strong, but she was losing strength every day. Naruto nearly missed his entire year of school as he refused to leave his mother's side. It took Kurenai and Anko saying they'd watch her for him in order to get him to go back to school. While he was in school, everyone noticed his dramatic change while he was there. At first he would talk to people if they talked to him, but now he was withdrawn and didn't seem to care about anything. Natsumi would talk to him, but it would be a short conversation as he would just walk away. To Natsumi, they were great friends and she wanted to help him, but Naruto refused her help. Natsumi was the only person to get Naruto to talk and it made some of the girls in class mad. The result of Naruto being distant to everyone reminded the older generation of a younger Kakashi. His mom tried to cheer him up a bit and it worked a little, but Naruto was sad that he was going to lose his mother before she saw him graduate the academy. The illness of his mother made him read more on medical ninjutsu, so he'd walk around reading a book and even had the idea of combining fuinjutsu with medical ninjutsu. Despite his training slowing down, he was still able to keep up with what he was taught so far and improved on it. He had great chakra control since he completed leaf balancing, pebble balancing, kunai balancing and tree walking. His reserves were unnaturally large, but he learned his father also had large chakra reserves, so it was only natural for him to have that as well. He mastered the fireball jutsu since it was like a rite of passage for Uchiha clan members, but he had a hard time with it and Sayuri figured he didn't have a fire chakra nature or it wasn't his main affinity. His taijutsu was low genin level and it was at the top of his class. His ninjutsu was limited for the time being since he only knew the fireball jutsu, substitution, henge and clone jutsu. He was the best in his class when it came to kunai and shuriken throwing as he would get 10 out of 10 each time he was tested on it. He was offered the chance to graduate early, but he declined. He made no friends really in school since he didn't try to. Natsumi doesn't count in his book since she's his sister and he met her before the academy started. They hung out quite a bit during the day and she normally spent her day at the Ichiraku ramen stand or with Ino Yamanaka, who had a huge crush on Sasuke Uchiha. Speaking of Sasuke, Naruto finally met him and he personally didn't care for him, but he didn't hate him. He was neutral towards him. He met Itachi and Shisui as well, but they were always busy and secretive. He knew why they were secretive since it had to do with the tension that reached its breaking point between the village and the Uchiha clan. While Naruto didn't say anything, he knew what was going on as he paid attention to everything going on around him even if it didn't seem like it. His mission protecting Natsumi over the years was going slow, but that's because they were in the academy and nobody knew where she lived except for Naruto. He's even spent the night over there a few times and stayed up all night with her until she eventually fell asleep. He found out her dream was to become the Hokage and he honestly believed she could become Hokage. Currently he was sitting in class next to Natsumi, who wasn't really paying attention. This class is so boring. All he does is talk. Natsumi said. If we're lucky he'll talk so much that his mouth will fall off so we don't need to hear him anymore. Naruto said and Natsumi gasped. Did you just make a joke? You haven't joked since your mom got even more sick. Is she okay? Natsumi asked and Naruto sighed. No, it's only a matter of time before she can no longer fight it. I don't get it. Konoha is supposed to have one of if not the best hospitals across the nations, yet they couldn't find out what was wrong with her. Naruto said. Maybe she'll pull through. Natsumi said. It's good that you remain hopeful, but she isn't getting any better. I've even tried to ask the old man to send an urgent message to his student Tsunade Senju, but the messenger was killed before he could deliver the message to her. Naruto said. An Uchiha asking a Senju for help. That's ironic given their history. Natsumi said. That history is before I was born and would be stupid for me to continue it. Naruto said. I guess you're right. What are you doing after school? Natsumi asked. I'm going to the hospital to see my mom and then get some training done. Naruto said. I'd go with you, but I need to do some training of my own. Natsumi said. Where will you be training? Naruto asked. Why, are you trying to steal some of my awesome ninja moves? Natsumi asked. Please, I just figured I'd take you out for some ramen, but I think I'll just head home. Naruto said. What? No, we can go. Natsumi said. Naruto and Natsumi, care to tell the rest of the class what you're talking about? Their teacher yelled. Yeah, we're discussing something private. It's not like you're teaching us anything new. We learned about chakra last year. Naruto said. You know what? Naruto, you can go too. An Anbu appeared in the room and gave the teacher a slip of paper before leaving. Actually, you need to go to the hospital. This says it's urgent. The teacher said and Naruto basically flew out of the room. Hospital. Naruto arrived at the hospital and didn't even bother to stop at the front desk. Nurses wanted to stop him. They realized who it was and left him alone. They tried everything they could, but didn't have the right medicine to treat his mother and they seemed to be losing money every year. As he was running through the hospital, he had his Sharingan activated to evade anyone in his way until he reached his mother's hospital room. When he went inside, Anko, Kurenai and Makoto were all there with sad looks on their faces. We'll leave you two alone. Makoto said and they walked out. Come here, Naruto, Sayuri said, as she held out her arms for a hug. I guess I can't ask how you're feeling, huh? Naruto asked and she chuckled. I guess not, but it's what you've been preparing for. I tried to stay strong for you, but I wasn't strong enough. Sayuri said. No, you were strong. You're the strongest person I know. Naruto said. I'm happy to hear you say that. Where's Natsumi? Sayuri asked. She's still at school. I didn't bring her since I left right after the teacher told me to come here. Naruto said and she nodded. She's a good girl. I only wish I was able to adopt her so she wouldn't grow up alone. At least she has you in her life. Sayuri said. Yeah, but it sucks that she doesn't know we're related. Naruto said, and she started to cough, so he gave her some water. Thank you. Listen, I need to tell you something important. Sayuri said. What is it? Naruto asked. The Uchiha clan is planning a coup d'etat. I'm sure you've noticed the brewing tension between the Uchiha clan and the village. The reason for this is because the village blames us for the Nine Tails attack, since the Sharingan has the power to control the Nine Tails. Fugaku is leading the coup and I don't want you to get involved in it. Sayuri said. What's going to happen? Naruto asked. I'm one of the 3 people in the clan that know about the coup and are against it. Hiruzen is trying to bring peace between the two and work something out, but it's not going as he hoped. I don't think we have much time left before the coup happens. We both know I won't live much longer, so I want you to go to the secret bunker I told you about that your father built and stay there. It's protected by a barrier so nobody can sense where you're at. Sayuri said and started coughing. Mom. Naruto said and started to cry. Just listen, Naruto. I'm sorry I won't be able to see you become a ninja, but I'm happy to have seen you take your first steps to becoming a ninja. My baby boy is growing up so fast. It almost seems like it was just yesterday when I found out I was pregnant with you. I won't be able to see you graduate, leave on your first mission, or even get a girlfriend. Make sure you find a girl that actually loves and cares about you to start a family with and treat her with respect. Sayuri said. I will. Naruto said. Don't let these little fangirls sink their claws into you. There's so much more that I want to say to you, but I simply can't put it into words. Make sure Natsumi grows up big and strong so she can achieve her dream of becoming Hokage. Also be wary of a man named Danzo Shimura. He's evil, cunning, and will do anything to get you to join his side. He's probably plotting on you to capture you as we speak, but as long as you stay with Kurenai and Anko, you'll be fine. Kurenai has agreed to let you live with her and I've already signed the papers for her to be your legal guardian. I need to tell you something about your Sharingan. Sayuri said. What about it? Naruto asked. You have the most powerful Sharingan eyes within the Uchiha clan. Maybe in the history of the Uchiha clan. You unlocked your Sharingan after you saved Natsumi for the first time and you were only 5 when that happened. You were able to cast minor genjutsu with them while they only had 1 tomo, and now that you have a 2 tomo in your Sharingan, its visual prowess is even greater. However, there is one important thing you should know. Eventually you'll unlock your Mangekyo Sharingan and its abilities then lose your eyesight, but there is a way to cure your blindness. Sayuri said and wiped tears from his face. How? Naruto asked. When I die, I want you to remove my eyes and store them in that container I have right there. The storage seal you had placed on your shoulder is where I want you to keep them. On the Uchiha stone tablet it says you can restore the light of your Mangekyo with an Uchiha you have strong blood ties with, and since I'm your mother, I want you to have my eyes. Do not fall into the Uchiha clan's curse of hatred and keep yourself surrounded by loved ones. Sayuri said. I will. I have Anko, Kurenai and Natsumi. Naruto said. That's good. Try to find Lady Tsunade and have her look over the notes for my illness and see if she can come up with a cure. I don't want anybody to go through this kind of pain. Sayuri said and Naruto nodded. I haven't given up. I'm even trying to make medical seals. I just wish I was able to finish them to save you. Naruto said. Don't worry, Naruto. Take your time. They need to be perfect, and if you rush them, then you'll make a mistake. Think of it like this, you can possibly save millions of people with this idea of yours. While I would have loved to use one of your seals, I've come to embrace my fate while doing everything I could to overcome it. Sayuri said. It'll take me some time to get over this, even though it's been getting closer and closer every day. Naruto said. It's okay to mourn. Just don't turn out like Kakashi. Sayuri said. I don't even know who that is. Naruto said. You'll find out eventually. Sayuri said and gave Naruto the biggest hug she could. I love you, Mom. Naruto said. I love you too, Naruto. You'll always be my little maelstrom. Sayuri said in. It was as if a switch was flipped and then she took her final breath while he was holding her. He cried silent tears as he held his mother since he didn't want anybody to hear him. Kurenai and Anko came into the room with tears as they heard the last bit of their conversation, then joined in the hug. After a few minutes, Naruto asked them if they could leave the room to give him some space, and they did. Naruto steeled his nerves and removed his mother's eyes like she asked him to, then he placed them in the container she had before sealing them away. He stayed in her room until it was late at night, even after they removed her body. They were going to remove her organs for testing, but Naruto didn't trust these nurses since he's never seen them before and was against it. He told Hiruzen, who was there, that he's going to burn her body. Hiruzen nodded and sealed the body away until Naruto was ready to cremate his mother. He finally stood up and looked at himself in the mirror, then started to clean his face. As he was doing this, his Sharingan activated with both tomos in each eye spinning rapidly before turning into 3 tomos in each eye. However, his Sharingan kept spinning before it turned into his own Mangekyo Sharingan. Image on profile. One last gift, I guess. Naruto said and walked out of the hospital. Hokage Monument. Naruto left the hospital and went to the Hokage Monument just to clear his mind. He could have gone back to class, but he opted not to and had Kurenai tell his teacher that he wouldn't be returning. He didn't know how much time had passed, but the sun was starting to set, so he would be leaving. As he was about to leave, he heard someone walking up on him, but he didn't bother to turn around. Naruto Uchiha. The person said, "What do you want?" Naruto asked. Straight to the point. "My name is Danzo Shimura and I have an offer I'm sure you'd like to hear." Danzo said. "So this is the guy Mom told me about. Most likely he wants the Sharingan on his side." Naruto thought. Not interested. Naruto said. "Just hear me out. I mean no harm." Danzo said. "If you didn't mean any harm, then you wouldn't have come with backup." Naruto said. "He's able to detect my Anbu." Danzo thought and gave a slight signal for them to be ready. "They are just my bodyguards." Danzo said. "You have 30 people hiding. That's not bodyguards. Not even the Hokage walks around with that much protection, and I highly doubt you're more important than he is in the village. You came here to take me by force if I didn't listen to your offer. I know what you want and my answer is still no." Naruto said. "Perhaps you should reconsider. Join me and I can make you as powerful as you'd like. We can build a village together that is unstoppable. I can even train you in the use of your Sharingan. My men will push you to your limits and beyond them. Together, we can rule this village and bring it to newer heights." Danzo said. "You can't teach me something I already know about. My training is perfectly fine and I don't need help from somebody like you. As for ruling this village, I'm not interested in becoming its leader. Being Hokage isn't something that interests me." Naruto said. "Then perhaps the cure for your mother's disease will suffice in exchange for you joining me." Danzo said and smirked a bit. "I'd rather have my mom die rather than take something from you, and I'm sure she'd say the exact same thing. You wasted your time coming here." Naruto said and stood up. "I've noticed you've gotten close to Natsumi Uzumaki. It would be a shame if something bad were to happen to her. She should watch her back." Danzo said and started to walk away, but Naruto spoke up. "You won't touch, and we both know why. You'd risk unleashing the 9 tails if you did that, and then you'd have to answer Hiruzen about why you attacked Natsumi. That eye you have hidden in your right eye socket isn't even strong enough to help you against the 9 tails. That's why you want me, or more specifically my Sharingan, because you know it's stronger than the one you have in your head right now. I noticed all of the spies in the Uchiha clan district, mainly around me. Me and my mom purposely talked about my Sharingan in the open while training so they'd report to whoever sent them." Naruto said. He planned for this meeting, but didn't know it was going to be me. I've been outsmarted but a mere child. Danzo thought. Now that I know who was sending them after me, I have a message for you. Naruto said. What is it? Danzo asked and narrowed his eye. Do not bother me and stop sending your spies after me and Natsumi. You'll regret it. Naruto said and glared at him. Why can't I move? Genjutsu, of course. Danzo thought, and when he released the genjutsu, Naruto was gone. 2 weeks later. 2 weeks passed and Naruto was currently walking towards the Uchiha clan district. He hasn't been there ever since his mom died and lived in the secret bunker like she said to. The reason he wanted to head to the Uchiha district is because he wanted to read the Uchiha stone tablet. The Uchiha clan was killed the week prior by Itachi after they were about to launch the coup. Shisui mysteriously died and Itachi was blamed for it. News spread wildly about the Uchiha massacre and that it was Itachi who did it. Both Naruto and Sasuke were the only survivors and the entire village started to treat them like royalty. They were questioned, but Naruto wasn't there so he didn't say anything. Anko, Kurenai and Natsumi thought he was dead, but he told them he was somewhere safe and away from everybody. He made contact with Itachi after it happened and told him he already knew why this had to happen. That surprised Itachi, but he was even more shocked when Naruto asked who the other person was that he kept detecting. The person he was feeling would appear in one area, but then he would be in a completely different section of the district. Itachi only told him to watch after Sasuke for him before he suddenly left and Naruto told him that he's not a babysitter. Naruto made it to the Naka shrine and went underneath it to start reading the tablet. At first he wasn't sure if he should read it, but something came over him and made him read it. So far all he read was the warnings about the Sharingan and the misfortune it could bring, which he figured it was the curse of hatred his mom told him about. He also came by the techniques of the Mangekyo Sharingan and carefully read them. Amaterasu was an ability that produced black flames that would not stop burning until the target was completely incinerated. The flames cannot be extinguished with water, the passage of time or any other normal methods, and only the user can put the flames out. Tsukuyomi was a genjutsu that inflicted real pain and the genjutsu lasted for 3 days inside, but on the outside only 3 seconds would have passed. It also said that only another Mangekyo user can break the Tsukuyomi and you need to make eye contact in order to make the jutsu work. Susanoo is a gigantic humanoid avatar made of the user's chakra that surrounds them and fights on their behalf. It is an extension of the user's will and has multiple stages before it's complete. Kamui, a space-time ninjutsu that allows the user to transfer objects to and from another dimension. It creates a spiraling void and distorts their form as they're traveling between dimensions. Koto Amatsukami, an extremely powerful genjutsu that completely manipulates someone's thoughts. The victim believes that they are doing what they are doing by their own will. Kagutsuchi, a technique that allows the user to shape the black flames of Amaterasu, allowing the user to manipulate them at will. While Naruto was reading the techniques, he noticed his mother's time skip ability wasn't there and he figured that it was a secret ability that was never unlocked before. He read about the consequences of using the Mangekyo Sharingan and something caught his eye that didn't make sense. It says the only way to unlock the Mangekyo Sharingan was to kill your best friend. He didn't kill his best friend and neither did his mom. That information was false and he wondered why that was written there. He read something else about a god seeking stability was divided into yin and yang, but when these two came together you obtain all things in creation. He thought about that for a while and the only thing he could think of was the Sage of Six Paths, but nobody actually has any legit information on him. It talked about having the power to control the tailed beasts, but he doubted he'd ever want to do that. It also said that when someone who possesses the power of samsara approaches the moon, an eye will open that is reflected on the moon to grant the eternal dream. It mentioned something about an infinite Tsukuyomi and that it's the only way to save the Uchiha clan. He couldn't read anything else, but used his brain to guess that the infinite Tsukuyomi was nothing more than a more advanced version of the Tsukuyomi. If that was the case, he wondered how a genjutsu was supposed to save the Uchiha clan. This tablet doesn't make any sense. Naruto said and left. Academy next day. Class was going on as usual and Natsumi was sad again since Naruto still hasn't come to class. Without him there to defend her, her grades were slipping and she fell from top 10 to the middle of the class. Their teacher was in the middle of the lesson when the door slid open revealing Naruto reading a medical ninjutsu book. Naruto, you're 3 hours late. Last week was an exception for your absence, but I can't allow it today. Why are you late? The teacher asked. Funny story actually. I was walking to school and on my way here the Inuzuka dogs were trying to kill a black cat so I had to take the long way around. Naruto said and the teacher just banged his head in the chalkboard. Great. He's just like Kakashi. The teacher thought. Does he really expect anybody to believe that? Natsumi thought. Sasuke thought. I'm glad Naruto made it to class. Hinata thought. Just go sit down. The teacher said. Sure. Naruto said and sat in his seat. Why are you late? Natsumi asked. I just told you why. Naruto said. Whatever. Listen, I've got an extra room in my place if you need to use it. Natsumi said. Thanks for the offer, but I'll have to pass. My sister is letting me stay in her place. Naruto said. I didn't know you had a sister. Natsumi said. You also don't know that you have a brother. Naruto thought. She's not really my sister, but she's been watching me ever since I was born. You haven't met her yet because she's always out on missions since she wants to become a Jonin. Naruto said. Then I can't wait to meet her. Natsumi said. I'm sure you can't. Naruto said. Have you been training at all these past 2 weeks? Natsumi asked. Yeah, but I've mainly been working on my speed and taijutsu. Naruto said. I bet I can kick your. Natsumi said. You'd lose that bet. Naruto said. Whatever. Want to grab some ramen after school? Natsumi asked. I have to make a stop, but I'll meet you there. Naruto said. Yes. I'll finally reclaim my crown for most ramen bowls eaten. Believe it. Natsumi said. Right. Naruto said. Take your mask off while you eat. It's weird seeing you seemingly stuck food through the mask. How do you do that anyway? Natsumi asked. If I told you then it wouldn't be funny to look at your face trying to figure it out. Naruto said. Why do you wear a mask anyway? Are you ugly? Natsumi asked. No. I have my reasons, but until certain requirements are met, I can't show my face to people. My father was a very powerful man and if I take my mask off you'd be able to tell who my father is right away. Even though he's dead, his enemies would still come after me and I'm not strong enough to face them. Naruto said. I see. Well, hopefully when you get stronger you can show me your face. Natsumi said. How about this? When I'm able to handle a Jonin level ninja, I'll stop wearing my mask. Does that sound fair? Naruto asked. Yup. Natsumi said. So, how's everything been since I've been gone? Naruto asked. Horrible. I fell from the top 10 in class to the middle. I don't understand it. I know I got everything right and I haven't missed a day. I just don't get it. Natsumi said. I see. Well, now that I'm back I'll help you out. Naruto said. Thank you. Natsumi said. Alright, students. Today we're going to learn about why ninja usually travel in groups. The teacher said and everyone groaned. Can I be excused? Naruto asked. You were 3 hours late and you want to be excused. Where do you have to go? The teacher asked. Anywhere that's better than here. This crap is boring and you know it. Naruto said. No. If they have to learn it then so do you. Now, pay attention. The teacher said and an Anbu appeared. Sorry for the interruption. Naruto Uchiha, Lord Hokage would like to have a word with you. The Anbu said and vanished. Fine. Naruto, you're excused. The teacher said. Wow. Talk about perfect timing. I'll see you at Ichiraku's later. Naruto said and left. Okay. Natsumi said. Wow, Natsumi. You've got another date with Naruto. Ino said. It's not a date. Besides, he's like a brother to me if anything. Natsumi said. Then why does he only hang out with you? Ino asked. I don't know. You'd have to ask him. Why? Do you like him? Natsumi asked. Please. Why would I want Naruto if I have Sasuke for myself? Ino asked. Excuse me. Sasuke is mine, pig. Sakura said. What was that forehead? Ino asked. Give me a break. Natsumi thought and sat next to Hinata. Hi, Hinata. Natsumi said. Oh. Hi, Natsumi. Hinata said. You know, if you stop stuttering so much and gain some confidence, Naruto might start to notice you. Natsumi said, and Hinata turned red. What do you mean? Hinata asked. We all know you like him. Natsumi said. No. You've got it wrong. Hinata said. Sure I do. Natsumi said. Hokage office. You called for me, old man. Naruto asked. I did. Care to explain where you've been for the past 2 weeks? Hiruzen asked. I was in a secret bunker my father had. Naruto said. Where exactly is this bunker located? Hiruzen asked. If I told you, it wouldn't be much of a secret. Besides, only me and Natsumi can get inside of it. Naruto said. Of course Minato would set it up like that. Anyway, your mission has a 2-week blank period. Ask Natsumi for anything unusual. Hiruzen said. I did. The only thing that happened to her was she fell from the top 10 in class to the middle. She went every day and got everything right, but she still fell to the middle of the class. Naruto said. I see. I'll deal with this one myself. Keep up the work. Hiruzen said. Yeah. Oh, and I spoke to your pal, Danzo, 2 weeks back. Naruto said, and Hiruzen grew serious. What did he want? Hiruzen asked. The typical join his side for power. Don't worry. I declined and basically threatened him before leaving. He knows about my Sharingan being the strongest in clan history and wants it for his own personal gain. Naruto said. I want to know if he even looks at you next time. Hiruzen said. You got it. Naruto said. Now, I'm sure you have time left for class. Get going to the academy. Hiruzen said. Actually, I think I'll skip the rest of the day. I was already 3 hours late. Naruto said. Why were you late? Hiruzen asked. Well, I was on my way to the academy, but then the Inuzuka dogs were trying to kill a black cat. They were blocking the road, so I had to take the long way around. Naruto said, and Hiruzen pinched his nose. You're dismissed, Naruto. Hiruzen said. Later. Naruto said and walked out. Naruto. As he was walking around the village, Naruto started to think about his training and what he could do to improve on it. He needed some ninja tools and more clothes for a shinobi, but didn't know where he could find some. All he saw was civilian clothing stores and no ninja stores. He was walking while reading his book until he had a feeling he should look up. As he looked up, he noticed he stopped in front of a ninja supply store that seemed pretty new to him. I guess it wouldn't hurt to try this place. Naruto thought as he went inside. Hello. Is anybody here? Naruto asked. Welcome to Higarashi's ninja store. How can I help you, young man? The name's Sato Higurashi. Sato said, and Naruto shook his hand. Naruto Uchiha, nice to meet you. Naruto said. An Uchiha with manners. That's rare. Sato said. My mom and older sister raised me well. Naruto said. I see. So, what can I do for you? You're the first customer for the store since we've just opened. Sato said. Sweet. I need some kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, and if possible some D-rank jutsus. Naruto said. I have just what you need, but I can't sell them to a civilian. Sato said. But I'm in the academy. It's my 2nd year. Shouldn't that count? Naruto asked. Ah yes, it does. However, since you are still in the academy, I can only give you practice kunai and shuriken. They're less durable than the actual thing, but it's all I can do for an academy student. I can sell you the ninja wire, but only about 10 feet of it. As for D-rank jutsus, I only have a few and most of them are elemental ninjutsu, so you need to know your chakra nature for those. Sato said. How do I figure out my chakra nature? Naruto asked. With this. It's called chakra paper. Sato said and gave Naruto a piece of paper. What do I do? Naruto asked. You channel some chakra into the paper. Do you know the basic chakra natures? Sato asked. Yes. Wind, water, fire, lightning and earth. Naruto said. Great. Now on the paper after you channel chakra into it, each of the symbols will glow indicating your chakra nature. Green is wind, blue is water, red is fire, brown is earth and yellow is lightning. Give it a try, Sato said. Naruto channeled chakra into the paper then watched as the results were shown to him. Yellow, blue and red were glowing on the paper indicating he has lightning, water and fire chakra natures. What confused him were the numbers 1 through 3 appearing next to the glowing symbols. What do the numbers 1 through 3 mean? Naruto asked. It means your main affinity is lighting, the second is water and the third is fire. It's weird because most Uchiha only have a fire chakra nature. Sato said. Then that's why it was a bit difficult for me to learn the fireball jutsu. Not only is fire not my main affinity, but my water affinity must be stronger than the fire affinity. Naruto said. Precisely. Now, I'll gather everything you need and you can have a look around. Sato said. Naruto nodded and walked around the store looking at everything he had. Multiple different kinds of weapons and some of them he never even saw before. Like he saw fans, but never saw why somebody needed a fan. He found different books on Konoha history, books on weapon forgery and clothes that were meant for ninja, but he didn't think any of them would fit for him. The thing that caught his eye was a sword that was stuck in stone that was locked behind a glass case. He would ask Sato about it and the history behind it. He went back to the front of the store to pay. Did you find anything else you needed? Sato asked. Just some books on Konoha history, but I learned enough of that in the academy. I do want to know about the sword in that glass case. Naruto said. Ah, that sword was forged by a good friend of mine 7 years ago. He unfortunately died and never claimed the sword. After my first shop was destroyed by the Nine Tails attack, I found the sword stuck in the ground and I couldn't remove it. As you can see, I had to move the entire slab of earth to keep the sword. Some think that only people the sword deems worthy can hold it, but I personally think only one of his family members can use it. If one of his family members comes and claims the sword then they can have it. Sato said. Maybe I can give it a try. Naruto said. I tell you what. How about you learn how to use a sword and when you graduate, I'll let you try to take the sword. How's that sound? Sato asked. Sounds fair. Can you tell me why you have fans for ninja weapons here? Naruto asked. Those are mainly for wind users. They allow them to blast away their enemy with a single swipe. I mainly sell them to Suna shinobi when they are in the village. They're not as powerful as the larger fans they sell in Suna, but they still pack a punch. They can also shoot out Senbon if they want them to. Sato said. Cool. I think I'm done for the day. Naruto said. Alright. I've thrown in 3 elemental ninjutsu for each of your chakra natures and 2 non-elemental jutsus. When you're in the academy, they pay for everything you get from here except special orders. Sato said. Really? How much does a special order cost? Naruto asked. It depends on what you order. Sato said. I noticed one of your books talked about chakra metal. Is it possible to have some kunai and shuriken made out of that to channel elemental chakra through it? Naruto asked. Of course it is. How many do you need? Sato asked. About 500 each. Naruto said and Sato did the calculations. That's going to cost you about 16,000 yen. Since you won't need them for a few more years, I'll place them on back order. Sato said. What does that mean? Naruto asked. It means that the order is basically delayed. You'll be able to pick them up the day you graduate. If I'm not here then my daughter will be here. Just tell her your name and she'll get the order for you. Sato said. Can I pay for them now? Naruto asked. Sure. Since you're the first customer I'm the new store, I'll throw in the instructions to properly use your chakra natures. Sato said and sealed everything in a scroll for Naruto. Thanks. Naruto said and paid for his special order. No problem. If any of your friends need some supplies, tell them about my shop. Sato said. I will. Naruto said and left. He's a good kid. Sato said. Ichiraku ramen. Naruto still isn't with you today, Natsumi? Ayame asked. Not yet, but he'll be here. I want my crown back as the queen of gluttony. Natsumi said. Another challenge. What's the record between you two? Ayame asked. 10-8. I'm behind by 2. I'm feeling really lucky today. Natsumi said. You said that last time and lost. Naruto said as he entered the ramen shop. Oh, Naruto. You're here. Ayame said. Why didn't you get that excited when I came in here? Natsumi asked and Ayame blushed. Well, it's just that you're always here. Ayame said. He's here just as much as me. Natsumi said. Can we just start? Naruto asked and then Tuki placed 4 large bowls in front of both of them. Alright, listen up. We've got another gluttony challenge over here. Natsumi has challenged Naruto for the crown. Do you accept the challenge, Naruto? Ayame asked. Of course. Naruto said. Everyone gather around and place your bets. Ayame announced and everyone bet on Naruto winning except for one person. Alright, go. Ayame said. Naruto and Natsumi began digging into their food at a fast pace while listening to the cheering crowd. Everyone except one person may have bet on Naruto winning, but the competition was something that made sure everyone was cheering. This went on for another 2 hours with Naruto having a 1-bowl lead over Natsumi. Tuki and Ayame were working as quickly as possible to keep up with the speed the bowls were being eaten. Natsumi caught up to Naruto and then quickly took a 2-bowl lead. Naruto wasn't going to lose and up the pace and now they were tied. Tuki only had enough ramen for 1 bowl so he made that and sat it between the two of them. Done. Naruto and Natsumi yelled. We have a tie. Ayame said. What? How? Natsumi yelled. It's actually not a tie. Naruto said. How? You both ate the same amount of ramen bowls and you both split the tiebreaker bowl. Ayame said. I would have won if I didn't drop a noodle on the ground earlier in the contest. When we eat, the rules state that you must eat every noodle and I didn't. She's the winner by the rules we set. Naruto said and Tuki placed the crown on Natsumi's head. Yes. Take that. I'm the queen of gluttony. Natsumi said. You may have won, but you're still behind a game in our little competition. Naruto said. So then nobody wins any money. Natsumi said. Not true. I bet on you beating me this time. Naruto said. How much money did he win? Natsumi asked. 1.4 million yen. Ayame said and gave Naruto the money. Niece. Pleasure doing business with you. Natsumi. I need you to come with me. Naruto said and they walked out. Where are we going? Natsumi asked. To the ninja supply shop. Naruto said and she stopped. Let me put on a henge so I can get inside. Natsumi said. There's no need for that. Just trust me on this one. Naruto said. What if I get kicked out? Natsumi asked. Then I'll stop doing business with the owner of the shop. Naruto said. Higurashi Ninja Store. Are you sure I can be in here? Natsumi asked and looked around. Of course. Naruto said and walked up to the counter to ring the bell. Coming. Sato said from the back. It's me, Naruto. I've brought a friend. Naruto said. A friend you say? Who is it? Sato asked as he came from the back. Go on. Introduce yourself. Naruto said. I'm Natsumi Yu Uzumaki. Natsumi said. So this is Kushina and Minato's daughter. She's almost an exact replica of Kushina if it weren't for the whisker marks and blue eyes. Sato thought and looked at Naruto who nodded to him like he knew what he was thinking. I see. I'm Sato Higurashi. Nice to meet you. Have a look around while I talk to Naruto about his order. Sato said. Are you sure? Natsumi asked. Of course. Since you're an academy student, everything you pick out is paid for by them crept for special orders. Sato said. Thanks. When I'm Hokage I'll make sure everyone knows about your shop. Natsumi said and ran off. I'm guessing you already know who she is. Sato said. More than you know. Naruto said. How did you find out? It's supposed to be a secret. Sato said. My mom and the Hokage told me. Naruto said. I see. If they told you, then I won't question it. The thing is, does she know you two are related? Sato asked, and Naruto's eyes went wide. How did you know? Naruto asked. Naruto, I was good friends with the fourth Hokage. There are no spiky hair Uchiha, and the only people your mother really hung out with were me, Minato, Kushina, and Makoto. It's not hard to figure out who your father was. I bet you look just like him underneath that mask of yours. Sato said. Fine. To answer your question, no, she doesn't know we're related. Naruto said. Because of Iwa, correct? Sato asked. Yes. The third Hokage wants to tell her when she graduates, so hopefully she'll be mature enough to handle it. Naruto said. Understandable. Well, she's welcome here anytime she wants. Sato said, and then they heard stuff fall over. Sorry. Natsumi yelled, and then another crash was heard. You may want to hire a clean-up crew. Naruto said. It's fine. I'll just hire some genin for a D rank mission to clean it up. Sato said. That's what a D rank mission is? Naruto asked. Yeah, it's basically chores for civilians. I used to be a ninja, but I retired after sustaining a brutal leg injury. That's why I walk with this cane. Sato said. I am not looking forward to doing those. Naruto said. If you get lucky enough, you'll get a teacher who'll let you do the D rank missions quickly or won't have you do them at all. Sato said. Hopefully. Naruto said, and then Natsumi came back. I'm back. Natsumi said, and put some stuff on the counter. Paint cans, rope, rubber ducks, stink bombs, glue. What is all of this? Naruto asked. I didn't even know I sold that stuff. Sato mumbled. It's for pranking, duh. Natsumi said. I brought you here to get some ninja supplies, but I clearly wasted my time if this is all you're interested in. Naruto said. But he said the academy pays for all of this. Natsumi said. They do, but you have nothing to train with in here. I saw your gear, and that is why I brought you to Sato. Naruto said. Well, maybe I don't want your stupid help. Natsumi said, and walked out. I'll keep these here for her. Sato said. Thanks. Naruto said, and walked out of the store. Training ground. Naruto was sitting down in a meditative position when all of a sudden his eyes snapped open and kunai started flying at him from all directions. He jumped into the air and twisted around the kunai before he threw them so they'd collide with some of the other kunai. He heard 11 thumping noises and then landed on the ground with a smirk on his face. He looked around and saw 10 targets with a kunai in them. He looked behind him and saw a target behind a big rock with a kunai embedded inside of it. He sighed and took a drink of water before looking to his left. I know you're there, Naruto said, and 2 blank masked Anbu appeared. They didn't talk and just attacked him, but unfortunately he was able to dodge them. They weren't that fast, but they were faster than him and they knew when to attack. Naruto used the fireball jutsu, but they dodged it at the last minute. They came at him with their swords drawn and tried to attack him, but his Sharingan was able to predict their attacks. He was thankful for his mother's reflex training to help him counter some moves. Naruto managed to grab the sword from one of them and slashed his stomach, but it was as if the Anbu didn't feel it. He was kicked away by both Anbu, but he was able to correct himself in the air and land properly. He looked up and saw one of the Anbu on him with his sword drawn aiming at his heart. Naruto's Mangekyo Sharingan activated and then he suddenly switched places with the other Anbu who was stabbed through the heart instead of him. The other Anbu was killed instantly and before the other could remove his sword, Naruto stabbed him in the back through his heart and killed him. He took the mask off to see who this person was, but both of the Anbu agents went up in flames. Naruto ran to the bushes and threw up over having to kill somebody like that. It took him a minute, but he got himself under control and went to see Hiruzen. Hokage office. What can I do for you, Naruto? Hiruzen asked. Why did the Anbu attack me? Naruto asked. What do you mean? The Anbu shouldn't have attacked you, and I can assure you that all of them are accounted for. Hiruzen said. I managed to get this off a one of them. Naruto said and placed the blank mask on his desk. Root. Hiruzen mumbled. What's Root? Naruto asked. It's an illegally ran division of Anbu controlled by Danzo. I've been trying to get some sort of evidence on him, but he leaves no trace, and when the Anbu fail a mission, they go up in flames, removing them from existence. The fact that you got one of their masks is proof against Danzo that they exist, but it isn't enough. Hiruzen said. These two weren't that much stronger than me. They only had a slight edge over me in speed, and they knew Kenjutsu, but I was able to evade them with my Sharingan. Naruto said. Then he'll send more of them after you, and they'll be even stronger. You need to up your training and be prepared. The best I can do is have an Anbu operative watch over you. I don't want this to leak out somehow. Hiruzen said. I'll be fine on my own. I've picked up a few things for my training from Sato Higurashi. I'll have to go back eventually, but I have enough now to last me. Naruto said. What did you get from him? Hiruzen asked. Some practice kunai and shuriken, 3 elemental jutsus for my chakra natures and 2 non-elemental jutsus. Naruto said. Chakra natures? Which ones do you have? Hiruzen asked. Lightning, water and fire. Naruto said. Interesting. Most Uchiha normally have a fire chakra affinity and then copy other jutsus. Hiruzen said. He said the same thing. He also has a sword that apparently nobody has been able to use, and he'll let me try to take it after I graduate. That means I'll need a Kenjutsu teacher. Naruto said. Well, I can't help you out since it would be showing favoritism. I also can't tell you that there's a Kenjutsu area in the shinobi section of the library. Hiruzen said, and Naruto caught on to what he was doing. It's okay. I guess you can't tell me that since the civilians run the library, there's no security after it closes in 5 minutes. Naruto said. That is correct. Now, I must get back to my work. Hiruzen said. One more thing. It's getting harder and harder for me to do the clone jutsu. Natsumi has the same problem. Is there a way you can't help me with this problem? Naruto asked. You are correct. There is absolutely no way I can allow you to take this scroll on different types of clones. Hiruzen said, as a scroll mysteriously rolled to Naruto's feet. Right. I thank you for being honest and not getting my hopes up. I'll be happy to throw this in the trash for you since you have more work to do. Naruto said and picked up the scroll. That is most kind of you. Hiruzen said. I'll be going. Naruto said and left. Naruto. After sneaking into the library and finding what he needed, Naruto went to Kurenai's apartment to sleep for the night. On his way there, he heard sounds coming from an alley and rushed into the alley to see a group of civilians and genin beating up Natsumi. He activated his Sharingan and jumped into action. He used genjutsu on the genin who were unable to break it and simply knocked out the civilians before going over to Natsumi. Natsumi, are you okay? Naruto asked, and she slowly opened her eyes. I think I'll be okay. Natsumi said. Come on. I'll take you home. Naruto said, and she climbed on his back. How did you know I was getting beat up? Natsumi asked. I was on my way to my sister's house and I heard noise in the alley. Naruto said. Why is it always you saving me? Why do you hang out with me so much? Natsumi asked. Because I care about you. You mean more to me than you could imagine at the moment. Naruto said, and her eyes started to close. I wish you were my real brother. Natsumi said, before she fell asleep. All will be revealed in due time. I just hope you can get strong and mature enough. Naruto thought. He entered her house and placed her on the bed. He was about to leave, but not before leaving some of his practice ninja tools for her and some tips on how to use them. He opened the scroll that Hiruzen didn't give him and saw a jutsu known as the Shadow Clone Jutsu and wrote down the instructions for Natsumi. This jutsu was almost made for somebody like them with huge chakra reserves. While Naruto's were large for his age since he already had low chunin reserves, Natsumi most likely had more chakra than an elite jonin right now. He wrote down some chakra control exercises for her as well and then finally left. He had 5 more years until he graduated and began his ninja career. His main priority right now was to become as strong as he possibly could before he would become part of a genin team. Kenjutsu, ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu and medical ninjutsu was everything he would be working on for the next 5 years. He may have to skip some days of school, but he really didn't care since they weren't really learning anything.